Hello viewers, this is Imran Jamil once again. Today I'm going to talk about a hot debate that has been going on for ages, but it has picked up its pace in the past few years. It is about gun control in the US. We all know where both parties stand on this subject, so I'm not going to dig into any of those aspects that have been discussed previously. I just feel that there are some fundamental aspects that are missing from this discussion altogether, and I just wanted to highlight them. We have to recognize that there is a need to do something about the growing number of mass shootings, suicides, and school shootings. I am a proud gun owner myself, and as a gun owner, I feel obligated to play a major role in this, at least providing awareness and training, and coming up to a common ground where we can at least have a starting point. The issue is that we're at a standstill because we can't find a starting point. Sometimes we're talking about banning certain guns. We're talking about reducing the number of rounds that each magazine can carry. Is that going to solve the problem as a starting point? I don't think so. Number one reason that I feel has to be discussed is awareness and training, as well as the qualification for anybody to be able to buy a gun, a long gun or a handgun. It should apply to both. Just like, I'll give you an example, a new driver has to go through hoops in order to get a new license. First take the classes, then get the permit, then get the probationary license, and then eventually get the permanent license. But even after that, the driver has to be extremely careful and responsible. Otherwise, he or she could lose their license at any given point based on certain violations. But driving, I understand, is a privilege, even though it's an essential part of so many people's daily life, because there's no mass transit system in place other than the big cities. Gun ownership is a right given to us by the Constitution under Second Amendment, no questions there. However, how that right is exercised is an area which requires attention. And that's why awareness and training, in my view, is the first step that we need to take. Because what is the reality? The reality is, post-pandemic, there have been a paranoia, and people who have never believed in guns are going left and right and buying guns. Ammunition is still in shortage. And all of those people are buying guns without even knowing what they need, what they can manage, what they can operate. What are the protocols, safety measures? Nothing is known before they go and buy a gun. And it's a trial by error type aspect, which is very, very dangerous for gun ownership. So how come no state has taken steps to even talk about it? I don't know. But what I'm saying is that in some states we have good handgun laws, such as in Maryland. You have to obtain a handgun qualification license before you can even think about buying a gun. You have to take classes, beginner level, advanced level, and then go through fingerprinting, police report, and then there's a waiting period. It takes about anywhere from 1.5 to 2 months before you obtain that license. And in the process, you can spend in addition of $400 in some cases. So before you're even eligible to buy a gun, you are doing all of this, which makes you think that, do you really need it? Do you really want it? And that's a good practice. However, in neighboring states, anybody can go in any stores and buy a handgun with a very minor background check, no problems. Is that the right thing to do? It has to be implemented and mandated. But no one's talking about it. Second question is the consistency of laws, which relates to my last point that I made about Maryland versus the neighboring states, or Texas and many states that do not have such precautionary aspects in place. As a gun owner, I also feel that is very important for people to understand the categories of guns. What are they buying? I have had numerous instances. I'll give you 2 examples. One person who wanted to start off by buying an AR-15, never owned a gun. and asked for help. And I really went crazy. I was like, why are you starting off with that? But he was, I mean, he was an adult, so he wanted to buy it. And I just don't think that's the right thing to do. He had some experience previously, but there's another person who had no experience with guns. He already bought a gun from an individual, again AR-15, and then calls me up to find out which caliber does he need to use. And I was literally stunned. I was like, how can you buy a gun without even knowing what caliber it takes? And not knowing that you could just look at the barrel and see which caliber it would take. You didn't even ask that question to the seller. And he was like, yeah, I forgot. This is a very, very dangerous situation. Our children, their minds have been programmed in the past 20 years by playing certain games. I'm not going to name any, but those games are fantasizing shooting and war scenarios, and those scenarios which are really affecting the mindset of the children. Yet, it's missing a major link that shooting in games is different than shooting in reality. And what are the consequences? What are the ethical standards that a gun owner must follow? As a gun owner, it puts me in a very bad situation, an awkward situation, that this is all happening. Then there is a debate about assault weapons, whether they should be banned or not. As a gun owner, I don't see even there should be a discussion about it. In my view, they don't belong. Assault weapons don't belong to streets. And believe me, I get a lot of flack from my community, the gun owners community, and when I go to range and talk about this to anyone. I understand it's a fun platform, but that platform poses some high risks. First of all, it can do destruction faster than most other weapons. Any semi-automatic weapon can shoot like that, but the amount of destruction that platform is causing is mainly because of certain adjustments that you can make to make it rapid firing weapon. However, that's a different debate. I'm not talking about that. That's up to the government and the owners and everybody else who is into it to decide. I personally don't feel that is right. Second aspect is about carrying and concealed carrying, open carrying, and all that. Even as a gun owner, I don't see a point, because the more guns that are on the street, the more risk they pose. And specifically when you have no awareness or training available, or there's no qualification in most states for that either. Why? The argument is that when everybody will have guns, the criminals will think twice. Criminals never follow the law. Whether you implement these laws or not, criminals are always going to find their way. However, let's take their argument. It does reduce the number of incidents, okay, fine. By what margin? But it will certainly increase the number of fatalities in each case, because now both people have guns. Everybody has the right to defend themselves, but again, it is a lot of responsibility to be a gun owner inside and outside the house. How come, if you look at in the past, 35, 40 years ago, the laws were so lenient, yet there were there were just almost next to none incidents reported of mass shootings and school shootings. Why? Because at that time, only the people who were into either sports, hunting, self-defense, and some professions that required guns bought them. Now everybody, post-pandemic, everybody's going left and right and buying them without knowing what they're getting into, without knowing what gun do they even need, even if they have decided to buy it. So these are some of the aspects that I feel are missing from the discussion, as I said. Secondly, as a gun owner, I am very enthusiastic about certain things. I have guns based on the aspects of my life that I use them for. Safety related, home safety, hunting, sports, like shotguns, ski, trap, all of that. So people should know what they're getting into. And if it's up to me, basically the problem I see over here is the understanding of not knowing where society is going. Society's safety prevails in my view. So if I have to take a back seat for my own interests, in the interest of more safety for the society, I'm all for it. These are all the aspects that we must think about and talk. I would be really appreciative if you guys give me your feedback, your comments. If I've missed some points, it would be a great chat to have, and we can take this further, because at our level we can probably do something about with the understanding whether the laws change or not. But changing the laws alone is not going to cut it. That's what I think. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll be waiting for your feedback.